Hello, everyone, and welcome. We are thrilled you've joined us. Here at FuseIT, we speak with leaders daily who are frustrated by a growing insight gap. You have more data than ever, but your teams are still forced to play a guessing game. So today, we're closing that gap. We are officially announcing Loupe, the solution designed to turn website customer behavior into real-time intelligence. And joining me today are Matt, our CEO, and Chris, our CTO. Now, just a quick note here, we won't be holding a Q&A like we normally do during our webinars, but please feel free to comment or reach out to us and we'll make sure to get back to you. All right, let's get started. Matt, set the stage for us. What was the vision behind Loupe?
Thanks, Anne. Yeah, the vision is to stop the habit of looking backwards. Historically, we've used data to see what happened last month, last year. Loupe is about acting on what is happening right now. We want to collapse the distance between what a customer is doing online and your team's next move. This ensures every interaction is a growth-oriented decision rather than a reactive guess. Loupe does this by bringing signals a person leaves on your website directly into your CRM in real time.
Yeah, absolutely right, Matt. And to do that, we had to think carefully about the architecture. So our goal here wasn't to build another platform or another system or another siloed tool that stands by itself. The goal right from the beginning was to make this product live natively in the place where you do your daily work, which is your CRM. It's about building that lens that will help bring your data in your CRM into focus without the friction of another integration to yet another platform. So today we're launching this first on Salesforce.
Excellent. I'm excited to get into it. But before we get into how Loupe works, let's stay for a moment with the problem. Why is this issue still so hard for most teams? Matt, you care to share?
Yeah, well, I mean, there is a really direct day-to-day reality for this for most organizations, right? They are data rich but insight poor. They collect more data than they can actually act on. And for too long, the CRM, I guess, has been treated a bit like a digital filing cabinet, a place for records, but not for decisions. And in a competitive market, just holding a record of the past isn't enough to differentiate you.
Yeah, so listen to this. Here's a statistic I found really interesting. So in 2024, MuleSoft put out a report which said that in large organizations, there were on average 991 applications that were being used, and only 28% of them were actually connected or integrated together, right? And that kind of goes to show and highlight that teams within your business, they're not working together with the same view of the data. They're searching for data across dozens of tabs just to understand one of your customers.
Oh, I know that all too well, being in sales and customer success. Okay, so to recap, we have the data, but it's buried under a mountain of disconnected apps. What does that delay actually cost teams, though?
I think people call it lots of different things, but we're calling it the window of opportunity. More than ever, customers expect a personalized response now, in real time. The HBR Harvest Business Review, they found that firms responding within an hour are nearly 7 times more likely to have a meaningful conversation with a customer than those that wait. If it takes your team 2 hours to piece together a customer history from 3 different resources to act, that lead is already going to be cold.
Yeah, I mean, don't make your teams have to open 3 different applications and scan across notes in 7 different windows. So coming back to another report I read recently and the Salesforce put out, they said that sellers spend only 30% of their time actually actively selling. So what made up the other 70%? It was swallowed by admin, hands off to other people, and hunting for context. So, people are drowning in this tech debt, right, instead of engaging with people. And it's not just sales.
No, right, yeah. So sales is one dashboard, marketing is another, customer success is looking at a third, and the customer fills every one of those gaps. They have to repeat themselves, say the same thing to different teams. They get inconsistent messages. And they wonder, often if regardless of the size of the business, whether one left hand knows what the right hand's doing. And I think there's a bottom line to this, which is it's taking longer to acquire customers. And once you have them, you don't know how to keep them, or you don't have good strategies on how to keep them. And you're losing value because you're reacting too late. I think the other thing that is really important is that with Loupe, the customer journey stops being a series of handoffs and becomes one continuous relationship. When everyone sees the same lived picture, your cost of acquisition falls. And because you're more efficient, your lifetime value climbs because the customer feels more understood.
Yeah, and something that I'm really, really passionate about is that we can achieve this without adding more to your tech stack, right? So Loupe, it's just what we call a Salesforce native application. That means it lives in Salesforce. So for your IT teams, there are no new logins you need to manage. For your users, there's no relearning of the application. It gives you a shared source of truth that stays inside your environment you already own, right? So it also works across all your different websites. So you can enable this on your existing platforms. You don't need to change or move to a new platform to enable this ability.
I love it. It's such a value add. I hope the audience is feeling that as well. All right, so we've talked through what Loupe is. Now walk me through what it actually looks like for a team. Let's make it as concrete as possible.
Yeah, okay, so let's give an example. Let's say a potential client finds one of your articles through a search. She reads it, and on her way out of your website, she downloads one of your case studies and leaves behind her email address. That's the moment Loupe connects her to your CRM. And from here, it signals she leaves on your website are linked to her CRM record in real time.
Yeah, so to put that in perspective, before Loupe, that interaction that she gave on a website might have landed in some sort of web form tool, and it may have just sat there, right? So her visits when she returned to the website, that would have just shown up as generic traffic in your website analytics tool, say Google Analytics. So they were separate systems and they didn't necessarily connect well together. Now, however, with Loupe, right? So the moment that that person identifies themselves, everything is tied back to their identity within the CRM, all in real time.
And the website responds. Don't forget that, Chris.
Yeah,
When she
it does.
comes back, instead of the generic homepage, every first-time visitor sees she's shown content relevant to her industry and where she is in her customer journey. The right case study surfaced, the right next step made obvious. She finds what she needs faster and she stays longer. This time, she heads straight to your pricing page, compares two plans, spends 4 minutes there, and closes the tab.
Yeah, no, great call out, Matt. And that moment, right? That moment that you just described on the website, it's now a signal, not just a data point in your analytics tool. Okay, so marketing can see the email that she viewed and that case study, not just generating traffic anymore. They can see that it's actually driving intent. They can see exactly what content moved her to that pricing page. And then they've learned about that, they know what works, and they can back themselves.
Yeah, and sales can be notified via an alert. They know she's visited, what she's read, which plan she compared, and her intent. And that means when it's time for a conversation, they are there, right in the middle of the conversation. They know what's happened before. They can act and have a conversation which is meaningful. That shortens the cycle, and it allows you to skip the discovery you might have had and go with real content. Win rates lift because you show up with a conversation that the customer wants to have, not an introduction. And then as they move towards signing, onboarding doesn't start from scratch. Everything she engaged with during the sales process is already there, ready and waiting for the next team to pick it up and have a meaningful conversation. That confirms to the customer that you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and let's say 6 weeks later, then she goes and raises a support ticket because something went wrong. The agent helping her sees the full picture, right? The agent can think about what that person may have seen on the website leading up to the issue or what they've bought. what was discussed with other people earlier in her conversations. It can also see what maybe she's looked at on your website or what she's tried before contacting or reaching out to support. She doesn't have to re-explain herself again.
Yeah, so 3 months, say that's 3 months from the sale. If her engagement drops, customer success sees it, and they are able to act before that cancellation notice comes through. They're able to move weeks earlier and sort of engage, reach out while there's still time. And it's not only risk that they can see, but when her team expands, that's the customer's team, she needs to start exploring new features she hasn't used. Those surface as well, and new people from that customer coming into the website can be seen as well. Renewal conversations don't start at expiry time, they start months earlier when there's still room to grow and expand that customer relationship.
Yeah, I wanted to add just one more thing. Now, for those teams with data privacy obligations like GDPR and CCPA, so Loupe only works for those people who have agreed to identify themselves to you, right? There is no third-party tracking here. There's no anonymous profiling. The data doesn't leave your Salesforce environment. So there's no new vendor, no new data processing agreement to negotiate. So the compliance team is now working with systems they already govern. Think about that.
That's such a good point, and it's really something we're talking about across industries. Really what this sounds like is total alignment of your team. But Chris, we've pointed out a lot of individual wins. So how do we turn this into a repeatable strategy?
Yeah, it's a really good point. So alongside the product, we also bring across a framework that we use to describe the capabilities and how you can adopt them. So it's broken up into 4 parts: connect, understand, engage, and guide. So let's start with connect. This is the bit that brings together the full complete picture of what's happening on your website into the CRM. Now, the way that is done is through a first-party connector that connects your website to the CRM, and it's the foundation that everything else is built upon. So after connect, we then move into the understand phase. So this is where, instead of looking at a generic analytics tool like Google Analytics, which shows things like how long on average do people spend on a website looking at a particular page, to individual behavior. So we take what happens on a website and turns that into interesting signals. And then we take that and turn it into knowledge about what to do next. So let's explain that a little bit more, next level down. So what it looks like is every contact in your CRM, we're having live engagement scores that are updated in real time as they use your website. You can see who's leaning in and who's drifting away. And all the activities right there. You can use that information to group people together showing similar behaviors. So there might be those people who are rapid adopters, who are want to move very quickly. They might have visited your pricing pages 3 times in a week. And you can recognize those people as different to other people who might move more slowly. It might be people who've downloaded a case study and then gone quiet and haven't come back for 3 months, but all of a sudden they show up again. You can treat those people differently because you know what they've seen and you know who they are and how they behave. And because all those touch points are tracked, you can also identify with much greater clarity exactly where your sales attributions are coming from. Not just the last touch point that closed a deal. You can actually see all the way along your customer journey what points moved it towards a successful sale, or maybe moved it further away. And that intelligence can really show you, when you're making process improvements, where to improve next.
So connect and understand, but the next 2 stages are where it gets really exciting. You see, once we've got the knowledge that's been given by the connect and understand stages, we engage. And this is about providing tailored website experiences based on who someone is and what they need right now. Imagine a website that changes depending on who's viewing it, boosting engagement and making it easier for them to find out what they need. The engagement follows people beyond the website too. When someone takes a specific action, visits pricing for the 3rd time, downloads a particular guide, they can trigger outreach automatically across whatever channel reaches them, email or a task for sales. The signal is the starting point. The response is immediate, and it doesn't require someone to be watching. But the final step is the most critical, and that's we guide. This is the so what of the whole platform.
All right, well, since it's the most critical, tell us more about Guide. Why is that the ultimate goal?
Well, you see, often most teams are just following their customers around. Guiding is about leading them. It's about clear steps and shared visibility. It's really empowering for sales teams and growth teams. You see, Loupe even creates collaborative spaces where buyers, students, clients, or donors, whatever you call your customer, can engage with your team in one unified place right on your website. Because you see, what we found is in a lot of these relationships, in higher education, in financial services, in banking, in aged care, in insurance, the decision often isn't made by one person in one sitting. It often takes weeks, it involves multiple people, and the team trying to support that decision usually has no visibility into what's happening inside the buying group. Guide gives each buyer, student, family, or client their own shared space on your website. Not a generic page, but a space built for them with exactly the content relevant to where they are. It's a dynamic, shifting content as well. It's a briefing room for a complex sale, a sales room for a buying group, an onboarding and customer portal once they've signed. All of it curated, tracked, and connected back to the CRM. This collaborative space follows the customer journey and the sales cycle that you've defined for your customer. Inside that space, you can see everything. Who read what, who skipped past, where someone paused and came back, if they've shared that with someone, if there are three people in the buying group, you see engagement at the individual level, not just that a document was opened, but who is engaged and who hasn't been engaged.
Oh, that was a great recap. Thanks for that, Matt. So let's take a step back, think about this framework. So this framework that we've just described here with Connect to Guide gives your team what they need to really deliver those great customer journeys. And it uses the platforms you already have there. So you can move from being reactive to being proactive and leading your customers to give them a great experience. So instead of waiting for a student or a client to call you to tell you that they have become stuck, the data is there. It tells you first, and it gives you the confidence to reach out to them and to lead them to the next step.
That's the huge shift. It empowers people to be able to lead customers in a way that is efficient, effective, and is engaging. You're not just watching the journey; you're owning it as someone who is a relationship manager or has got first contact with that customer, and you're owning it together, the customer and the seller.
And that's, I think, just so key. And I think that's what I'm so excited about here, because it's really that confidence to lead that fundamentally changes the game. Okay, so we've talked about seeing signals and acting upon them, but we're also highly aware that AI is a big topic of conversations with the teams that we advise. So, Chris, do you want to talk about how AI fits into this picture for us?
What is it that AI needs to be successful in any kind of rollout? The answer is data, grounded data with real live information. So the Loupe data model that we're collecting this real behavior with real website insights at an individual level, all available alongside the rest of your customer data in your CRM. That is gold for AI agents. So as well as the data, we also make available a set of AI agent templates, which are specifically designed to work on customer touchpoint data and to understand it and apply it to your context. So it uses, actual grounded data. The agents can act with human oversight. And so whether that's an AI agent, which might be coming up with a recommendation before somebody talks to somebody in a one-on-one context, or maybe it's a follow-up or drafting an email or preparing website content, the AI is really on point with the messaging that you need to get across to move those customers through the journey. And we provide these agents as a starting point, but then the agents can be adapted and can learn from your context and your implementation in your industry to become even more precise and targeted. And the thing that I love about this approach is with AI and Loupe you can give your teams the tools they need to be more productive, right? It's giving people those practical guides, and so you don't need to figure it out yourself. We're here beside you to help with that.
Oh, I love it too. Thanks so much for digging into that, Chris. Okay, so now we've outlined our process. Let's show everyone how they can take that first step with us.
Thanks, Em. Well, I mean, we've really enjoyed talking briefly about Loupe. We've got so much more to talk about. There's going to be more information and more of these coming up over the next few weeks and months. But to wrap it up, Loupe is about one journey owned together. And for our FuseIT customers, it's the key to turning raw website behavior into the intelligence that drives real growth with lower customer acquisition costs and higher lifetime value.
Yeah, so don't just take our word for it here. We do want you to see it now. So we're inviting you to walk through one of your specific customer journeys with us. Talk to us. We'll show you exactly how these live behavioral website signals can look inside your own CRM and how it'll change the way that your team works and your outputs from day one.
Absolutely. Well, Matt, Chris, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure. And of course, huge thank you to all of you for spending your time with us today. We really value your partnership and your time, and we're so excited to help you close your very own insight gap. Talk to us today to see how our Loupe in action. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye for now.